I want to make people happy, so I tend to change my belief systems to help them feel the way they want to.
That's an opinion about yourself, isn't it?
Yes.
And what's your intention?
My intention is to be happy myself.
It's as simple as that. Now, what's your opinion about them? What's your opinion about the naysayers, the well-meaning and in many cases naysayers? What's your opinion about that?
I want them to be happy, but just not about what I'm doing.
Are we going too far when we say, I want them to mind their own business while they're living happily ever after?
Yeah. No,
And
that's good.
Is it as strong as I want them to mind their own business? And yet, nobody minds their own business, do they? If you need people to mind their own business, death might be your answer. If you really need people to mind their own business. But what is an alternative? Because they're not going to mind their own business. You know why? Because they care about you and they've made you their business. That's what's going on. So many people have made so many people their business. There are people that make all the people their business. They should be able to dictate to everyone on the planet the way they think things should go. They are not happy people. Because they're failing all over the place. Because you're born with this sense of freedom, and there's a triad of intentions that you are born with. They are equal in their power. Freedom, growth, joy. You are so free, you can choose bondage. And growth is inevitable. You can't stop that. But when you pick joy as your dominant intention, now you come into balance and alignment. So your opinion is, you said to us, my opinion is that I probably should please them because I want them to be happy, and when I'm pleasing them they seem a little happier. Really? For a minute, but really? For a minute, but really? Again, not wanting to put words in your mouth, just wanting to define the vibration we're feeling from you. Is sometimes your opinion, if I would just do what they want, then they would feel better? Or is sometimes your opinion, am I really responsible for all of your happiness?
I feel like both.
Is the only way that you can be happy is if I do everything that you need me to do? That's a hard way to live, because around every corner there's somebody else with another idea about the way you should live, you see. You got to eventually find the thrill and freedom of discovering your own guidance system. To stand in clarity rather than confusion, in certainty rather than uncertainty. Ooh, it feels so good to feel like that. And that's what you're reaching for. And so you've got some opinions, and we accept all of them. The way you said them is the way they are. But in that opinion, what is your intention? So your opinion is that when I please others, they're pleased forever. Is that your opinion?
No.
So is your opinion that when I please them, when I do what they want, they're pleased for now?
Yes, or they're pleased with me at least.
So do you think in that you are taking the path of least resistance? The path of least resistance is just easier not to make trouble. How do you feel about the path of least resistance? Is it a good idea?
Yes.
We think so too. Why would you want to pick a fight with somebody that they don't even understand? You don't understand them, they don't understand you. Why would you pick a fight like that? It is the path of least resistance not to pick a fight. But we're not talking about the fight that you don't pick with them. We don't encourage anybody to pick a fight with anybody. We really don't. We're talking about the fight that you're picking with yourself when you have an opinion that your inner being doesn't have. That's picking a fight with yourself. And what do you think your inner being's opinion about them and their advice to you is? This is big. What do you think it is? What do you think your inner being's opinion about their advice to you is?
That it was nice, but it doesn't matter.
They mean well. They love you. They're doing the best that they know. Their vibration is where their vibration is. Their relationship with their inner being is whatever it is. Their point of attraction is not my point of attraction. So when you focus in alignment with your inner being and focus on them, you don't feel any struggle, do you? Did that make sense? Did you feel that?
That did make sense.
So now let's take the nicotine. What do you think your inner being thinks about those people? Are they up close to you? Are they after you to stop smoking?
Some of them.
What do you think your inner being thinks about them? They love me. They think smoking is bad for me. They don't want anything bad to happen to me. So their harassment is their love for me. It really is. Their harassment is their love for me. But what's your opinion about their loving harassment?
It scares me.
Why?
Because I don't want what they're saying to happen. Like, I don't want to die a terrible death from nicotine.
So are you saying that people are offering information to you who mean to be helpful, but are actually causing you to have an emotion that is so strong that it is cutting you off from all resources of well-being?
And then that makes me want to smoke more.
That's what'll kill you. It's not the nicotine. It's that. That's what'll kill you. Or that's what'll deplete you. Isn't it interesting that people who mean well are offering all of the gloom and doom and things to worry about and warning you about things? Years ago, almost the first 3 or 4 years that Jerry and Esther were having this experience with Abraham and traveling, and they were in Buffalo, New York. And Jerry always turned on the television to listen to the weather report. And in most cities at that time, right before the weather report was the news report. And so he had that on in anticipation of the weather. It was a local station. And they were talking about, it was the annual thing that they do at the school to get the kids to stop drinking and driving. And it was quite a big production. There was a person explaining what the school was doing. They do it every year. And they take the field house where they play football. And the parents and the counselors and the boosters of the school, they would go to junkyards and they would bring broken, bloody cars into the arena. And all of the student body was paraded around and through to see what happens to you when you drive and drink. This is what happens to your vehicle. But they took it further than that. They assigned everybody in the student body a role to play. And they said, you died in a crash, you died in a crash, you're maimed, you'll never walk again. Everybody was given an identity of the horrible thing that would happen to them if they drink and drive. Parents were brought into it too. You're going to have a funeral this week, and these are the people that you're going to invite. And it was extreme. They really wanted to get the momentum going. Talk about 68 seconds. They wanted to drum into these kids such a fear of drinking and driving that they would never want to go near it again. That was their flawed premise that they were approaching that with. And Jerry then, after he saw that, wanted to talk to us about it. And we said, they're doing the opposite of what they mean to do. They're activating within those people. They're activating the very thing that they don't want them to attract into their experience. It's a hard thing to get your thoughts around, isn't it? Because didn't your reasoning thinking go a little bit along with them? Yeah, it's good to scare kids so that they want to drink and drive or smoke. It's good to scare them. Except that every time that they're in a vehicle from now and forever, whether they're drinking and driving or not, they've got a little bit of that fear in them. Their point of attraction has been altered and not to their benefit because of the fear of somebody that doesn't understand how the universe works. And some of you were born to sort of change that a little bit. To not be so ready to go along with all the gloom and doom and warning. There are people warning people about things that you don't even have in your environment anymore. There are people that remember, that have trauma that they remember. In other words, people are meaning well. But when you feel fear, or when you feel anguish, or when you feel uncomfortable, you're afraid. You're afraid that they're right. You're afraid that they're right. And we promise you that if you give up smoking, there'll be something else that you shouldn't do. You shouldn't drink that water. You shouldn't drink that water in that place. And you shouldn't breathe this air. And you shouldn't go up there because there's a mosquito. And you shouldn't go over there and you shouldn't go over there. In other words, you better not go anywhere. And now you need a psychiatrist because now you're depressed, and it's normal that you're depressed. In other words, it's like everybody's got a reason to scare you about something. And what's really interesting about it is that they are all well-meaning. They just are unknowing. Unknowing, well-meaning people are not helpful. Your inner being is knowing. Your inner being is knowing. And so your inner being will not encourage you towards something that is not good for you. That's one of the things that we know, that sometimes people come to these gatherings or listen to something online or read something that we've offered. Somebody that they know and love has offered them something about this, and so they're skeptical as they listen to what's going on here. And they come to a place sometimes, often really, where they feel afraid that what's going on here is that you're being desensitized to things that can really harm you. In other words, Abraham doesn't even admit that there is hell or a devil, when whole hordes of people have been using that as their way of getting people to behave for a long, long time. Take the devil away, keep punishment out of it, then how are we going to get people to behave the way we want them to behave if we don't have something really big and bad that we scare them with? And your inner being is just not interested in scaring anybody because it's counterproductive to who you are. There is either love or there isn't, and we want you to know that there is. There is only a stream of love which you are allowing to one degree and another. And you can tell by the way you feel how much of it you're allowing or how much of it you're pinching off. And when something scares you, it isn't because it is dangerous to you. It is because your inner being has a different opinion in the moment. If there were something that were really a danger to you, like you're sitting on a bench and there's a monster in the bushes or something, your inner being would not project a thought of fear. Your inner being would project a thought of fast mobility. Your inner being would call you to a place that you want to be, not scare you about sitting there in danger. It isn't the way that it works. Your inner being never pushes against anything. Your inner being never pushes against anything, because your inner being and you live in a universe that is attraction-based. There's no assertion. When you say no to something, it doesn't go away. When you say no to something, you're saying yes to something you do not want. And so that's the way this all fits together. Don't try to explain to somebody who's not ready to hear what you're doing. Just live happily ever after. Because if it's true that what others want for you is your thriving, then when you tune into your inner being on a really steady basis and you demonstrate your thriving in all kinds of ways, you demonstrate your balance, your security, your confidence, your cleverness, your timing, your abundance, your well-being, your thriving. If that's what they really want for you, they can't take issue with whatever path you're taking to accomplish that. Yes? So we wouldn't try too hard to explain anything to anybody, but we would continually explain it to ourselves so that we're in steadier and more constant or frequent alignment.
That makes sense.